Hello, welcome to Shmirchik Corner, where you will experience all the unpleasantness that comes with me. So, back in Israel, right? Back home to my own little house with my own little dog and my own little cat. My cat is actually outside. That comes with me. Let's get myself some tea and let's get on with it, shall we? I don't know how long I can stay on because I literally just arrived to Israel. I landed at around 6-ish, right? So we're gonna see what's new. And yeah. So November 3rd, 2025, as far as I know. And this guy that got attacked in New York, he has a brain bleed, and he says he's not afraid for himself, but he's worried about his brothers. And he was in the middle of Manhattan, in the middle of the day, and he was attacked, right? It's so interesting because a lot of the Jewish people in New York, even though they get attacked every day, they don't really feel afraid somehow, right? Even though when I was there, I felt a little bit nervous, because living in Israel, you have a different feeling. It's a different hi, Wadis. Living in Israel, it's a different feeling of security for a Jewish person, right? Of course, you can have your own inner squabbles and all that. But, right, so you're going to see how long we can do before I go to sleep. Because I barely slept on the plane, and it wasn't a bad flight. It was just flying. It was 10 hours, and I was actually looking at the map, and the map, it didn't seem to go over it just went over the ocean, and then it passed over Europe, like England and Greece, and then it landed in Tel Aviv, right? So on the way there, it was longer. It was 11 hours, right? Plus travel, right? Where are we? Plus travel and like getting there, waiting in the airport, going through security and all that, right? So it's like 1939. Israeli Jewish tourist suffers brain bleed after New York attack. So he said he's not afraid for himself, he's afraid for others. Israeli educator and lecturer in the IDF, Rami Glickstein, 59, suffered a vicious anti-Semitic attack while in New York last Monday, resulting in a brain bleed and a broken nose. Right. I'm not so well, he told Jerusalem Post on Monday. I can stand up. I can speak. But the doctors are very worried because of the bleeding inside my head. I also have a broken nose, and my head and leg are very painful. Glickstein was on his way to the Mr. Broadway kosher restaurant in Midtown Manhattan a week ago, when a man approached him and gestured at his kippah, yelling, "What is your religion?" When Glickstein did not respond, the man grabbed the kippah from his head, threw it on the ground, and spat on it. Glickstein bent down to pick it back up, and the man punched him in the face, knocking him to the floor. I wonder if this guy's gonna actually get the attacker. I wonder if he's gonna get arrested. Probably not, because most hate crimes against Jews goes unpunished, because that's our justice system, right? He was saved by two Orthodox Jewish men in kippahs who intervened in the attack and gave Glickstein a chance to flee into the restaurant. The people in the restaurant called the police, and an ambulance took Glickstein to Mount Sinai Hospital. So this is the video. I don't know if you can see. Where is he? He's walking. The guy grabs his kippah. And the guy spits on his kippah. He goes to pick it up. It looks like a black person that did it. Wait, so where is this? He went to pick it up. and he went to pick it up, and the guy punched him in the face. Socked him in the face, knocking him to the ground. Wow, look at that. I don't know if you guys can see what I'm seeing. The guy's on the floor. Nobody cares to help him. People are just like walking by. You know? Look what he did. Look. He went to pick up his kippah right there. Let's make it bigger. Hold on. It's frightening. You know what I'm saying? It's very frightening. He's on the floor, and the guy's standing over him, cursing at him. The guy wants to finish him off, right? Oh, the Jewish guys came to save him, right? He's a big guy, you know? It looks like Jewish people need to really learn to... It's really scary. Imagine if it's like... This is a hate crime. Black dude. It looks like... You see they're out of the frame now. Right? He's probably not going to get arrested. It's very scary if you're a Jewish person, and if your mother, imagine if your mother or your father walking with small children, and you literally need to protect your kids, but you have these hooligans coming to attack you and your children just for being Jewish, right? Listen, most of the people in New York, you know, a lot of them are black people, Hispanic people. A lot of them, they're very nice. I mean, not very nice, but they're nice people. They're decent people. They're not running around attacking people, right? From what I see, from what I saw. But it still happens a lot, and from especially the black community, they love to attack the Jewish community. I don't know why, right? Right at the airport on the way from New York to Israel, right? One guy was standing, two black people were standing there doing the security, and like they don't let you into the area because if you take a certain flight, right, they don't let you into a certain area. They're like the Israeli flights are more secure, I think, right? So they check your bags and they check your and they do like a thing to check that you don't have any weird stuff on you. And so the one guy, I started walking away, and he's like, they finished with me. So the security guy, the black guy, he says, "Stop dragging your feet. You're dragging your feet." And I'm like, and the other lady's like, "Don't tell her what to do." The other black lady, "Don't tell her what to do." And he's like, "Yeah, but my mama said to me, you know, when I see you dragging your feet, my mama said to me, don't drag your feet. I hear my mama's voice." And I said to him, "You know, you sound like you have a Jewish mama." You sound like you have a Jewish mother. That was very cute. And so, not everybody is hateful, right? But there's a lot of neighborhoods in Brooklyn, for example, which are very unsafe. And there's people who are mentally ill, and they're wandering around, and they're attacking people. And you have people who are just sick or evil, running around on drugs. And a lot of the neighborhoods in Brooklyn are very scary. You know? In Israel, you also have bad neighborhoods, but, you know, like, I don't know, somehow here it feels safer, right? So he said, despite the assault, Glickstein is still wearing his kippah out in public, right? He said, "A lot of Jewish people that have seen me in the shul, in the street, stop and talk with me. There has been a lot of support," right? Because the story circulated quickly in Jewish groups, Glickstein is now being recognized in the city. Glickstein has only good words to say about the police and lawyers who have visited him and helped him during the process. He also met with the FBI as the attack is being treated as a hate crime, right? So another thing is that I was on my way back on the flight, I was saying to myself, like, I had bought a book about a Jewish guy that was, high chaos. The direct energy weapons wrecked this entire reality. I don't know what that means. But basically, I was reading this book that I bought, right? It talks about a Jewish guy that was, basically, he was accused of being a spy. It reminds me of the Dreyfus affair in France, where a Jewish guy that was in the army, he was falsely accused of being a spy. He was demoted, he was humiliated, he was spat on. So it happened to this guy named Tenenbaum. And, right, it happened to this guy named Tenenbaum. Dan Tenenbaum? I'm not sure his name was. But I started to read. I'm like 90 pages into it, of like a 350 page book. And it's just like so horrific what he went through, right? And all of he was like an engineer in the army. And he was trying to make trucks safe for combat, you know, for the American soldiers. He was in the American army helping as an engineer, and he was involved in all of these foreign exchange groups where, like, headed by the FBI and the CIA, and you know, they were able to work with Israelis, for example, to improve, like, you know, in exchange to improve their vehicles so that it would protect the soldiers who are in Iraq, right? And he had the clearance to go, and because he knew Hebrew and everything, to actually, it was his official job to, as a Jewish person, it doesn't matter, his job was to speak with the Israelis, and then he got accused of doing his job, right, when they told him to do his job, right? And they had no proof, and all his colleagues, right, all the people that worked around him, with him, they were accusing him of being a spy. And it was very unpleasant, right? They raided his house, and they interrogated him, and they didn't allow him to have, they didn't read his Miranda rights, right? And it's very traumatic, you know what I mean? Like, and I was reading about the book, and I was saying to myself, I was saying to myself, like, I don't know, I don't think it's really safe for Jewish people to be in, like, you get accused, you're completely innocent, and then you'll just get accused because one of your coworkers is jealous because basically this Jewish guy, he was really good at his job, right, as an engineer and creating protection for the soldiers, and he was getting promoted, and his colleagues were jealous because he was promoted, right? And you know, right? And so basically he wrote a book, and he sued whoever he had to sue, but it's not a big story out there like it should be, right? Of just bigotry, plain old age anti-Semitism, bigotry, accusing the Jew of dual loyalty and all this nonsense, when literally you have Chinese people in the army that their mothers were born in China and they're literally ethnically Chinese, but no one accuses them of espionage, of being a spy, or somebody who's Korean or somebody who is black. They don't accuse them of being espionage for Africa, but only the Jew, right? And so on the plane I was reading the book because I bought it specifically for the plane, and right, and it's just really unpleasant to read it. I already saw him speak about I already saw him talk about what happened to him, right? Accused of spying for Israel, right? Excuse me, accused of spying for Israel. Who is this guy? Tenenbaum. Right? Where is he? Accused of spying. Oh yeah, and then this other thing comes out, right? Here. Accused of treason. This guy.
Welcome to the definitive rap.
With Dr. This guy here. So this guy's name is David Tenenbaum, and he was accused of spying. And they wrecked his life up. They wanted to put him in jail forever, or even give him the electric chair, right, when he was completely innocent. And this guy right here.
I was accused of treason for the very reasons I was hired. I speak Hebrew, I've been to Israel, I have connections in Israel. And it was just downhill from there. If you like, I can go into the details of that. So
Yeah, so I got his book, right? And I was reading it, but it's just so disturbing that I just couldn't. I have to get the guts to actually read it again. Yeah, what is? So, where are we? So, back to this guy who says that he was attacked, and the New York Police Department Hate Crimes Task Force are investigating it, and no arrest on anti-Semitic attack. So, no one got arrested. But people are being nice to him because, you know, his friends are supportive of him because they know it could happen to them. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a Jew, this is the life you're gonna live, right? The day after the attack, he said, I said to my wife that I wanted to go back to the restaurant. See, he says his Jewish pride remains strong. It's only because I'm Jewish. It's like something from the past, from 1939, he says. You have to understand, this guy attacked me in front of a very big and very famous Jewish restaurant. A lot of Orthodox Jews come here. I wasn't in a dark street in Harlem or somewhere like that. It was, yeah, Harlem used to be a very bad neighborhood. So, it was in the middle of Manhattan, middle of the city, in the middle of the day, right? So, he says that he told his wife that he wants to go back to the restaurant. This will be my victory. My plan was to go and eat something there in the restaurant, so I will do it. He confirmed that the food was indeed very good. I'm so proud that I was born in Israel. I'm so proud that I'm an Orthodox Jewish, that I'm a rabbi, and that I'm an officer of the Israeli army. And I'm very proud that we have this great present that is the land of Israel, the present that God gave us, right? So, I was also like, while I was on the plane, right, you have the, what do you call that? You have the, while on the plane, you have the globe, right? And, you have the globe, and I was trying to see how we're getting to Israel, right? Like, what's our route? I'm not very good at reading maps, but, basically, I found Israel, and then I zoomed in, but Israel is so tiny that you can't even see it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's really tiny. And, right? So, let's see what people say. Horrific, and what's most terrifying is seeing older people walk by and not even slow down their walk as they see this attack on an older person taking place. Right. And people don't pretend not to see. I didn't see this blasting all over the MSM here as it would have been if it were a member of a certain religion or other group, right? So if it was an attack on a Muslim, for example, you wouldn't hear the end of it. If it was an attack on a black person, you know, like Black Lives Matter, you wouldn't hear the end of it. But a Jew is fair game, you know? It's like, we're expected to just take this, you know? Somebody says his comparison to 1939 isn't far off. You have a Democrat who is an avowed socialist who will likely win the mayor's race in New York City tomorrow and will only fan the flames of anti-Semitism. Yes, I don't know who's winning the race of course it's probably going to be Mamdani, but yeah, so then there's the whole thing of the IDF torturing a Gazan terrorist in prison, right? And the thing is like, in my opinion, I'm just like, whatever. They don't really have, you know, on the one hand, yeah, we could be better than torture, but on the other hand, it's like, you know, they're not really human beings. Terrorists are not really human beings. So, you know, the people of Gaza, they don't act like human beings. They're terrorists. They like to kill Jews. They're our enemy. So, like, what kind of human being is that? Like, they are the enemy, and they are terrorists. So, what kind of civil rights or human rights does a terrorist have? They don't have any. So I don't understand why people are crying about bad people being tortured in prison. I have no problem with that. Like I say, in my philosophy, I say, why they're alive? Do you know what I'm saying? Why are they alive to be tortured? That's my philosophy. I don't get it. I don't understand it. There should be a bullet in the head, right? A bullet to the head of the terrorists. Okay. Remains handed over to Israel by Hamas do not belong to hostages. Yeah, so again, we have our enemies, they're perverts, you know, they like to play around with the dead bodies, the dead corpses. And yeah, what is so forensic tests confirm the expectation. Right. So Israeli authorities on Friday were preparing for the possibility that Hamas will hand over suspected remains from Gaza through the Red Cross. Announcing the imminent transfer, Hamas said that the likelihood that the remains belong to deceased hostages is low. However, the remains will be transferred to examination for examination and identification at the Abu Kabir Forensic Institute. Okay. Last week, Hamas staged a false discovery of a hostage's body in Gaza for the benefit of Red Cross representatives and media cameras. The Red Cross is completely useless because I saw the PR, the propaganda, at the time of the Holocaust, right? When the Nazis, they took the Jewish people and they fed them so that they shouldn't be too thin. And they made the Jewish people before, you know, the Jews were in the concentration camps, but before the Red Cross came, they made the Jewish people go and prepare the concentration camp to look all clean, to clean out all the dead corpses and the disease and all that. And they had it only in a certain area where, in the Holocaust, right, in the concentration camp, which looked decent. And they made the Jewish people play music, and they made them, they forced them to play baseball for a show for the Red Cross. And they even made the Jewish people, you know, create a pool, right? And all for propaganda purposes. And the people in the camps, anybody who survived, they said if just those Red Cross people would have come and just turned a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right and just wandered off without being guided by the Nazis, they would have seen horror, right? And that's what propaganda is, right? So you have the Hamas, who they like to present something to the Red Cross, that which is what it is not, right? They like to stage a scene, just like what the Nazis did to the Jews in the concentration camps. And until today, you have people who actually believe that, you know, in the Holocaust, the Jews had pools to swim in, and in reality, the Jews were it was used for propaganda purposes to show, oh, look how nicely we're treating Jews. But why the hell do you have Jews stuck in a ghetto or in a camp to begin with? Why are they in camps? Why aren't they living among civilization along with the other non-Jewish population, even in their own communities, but in the cities of the local people? Why do you have to take them away from the locals and stuff them and segregate them from the population, right? Like, why do you have to do that? Nobody even bothered and thought to ask that question in the time of the Holocaust. Like, oh, the Red Cross is going to see, the rumors about the Jews being killed and genocided, you know? They go and the Nazis put up a whole show, but they don't even think that, hey, hold up, this is weird. Why are the Jews only allowed in these areas? Like, it's very weird. Right? And so, but this is the world we live in, my friends. We live in a very perverse world. And it's very sad. But it is what it is. So, IDF naturalizes armed group crossing yellow line in southern Gaza. Right. So you have people who, they get neutralized, they get killed, right? Because they try to start up with IDF, where the IDF is. And why are they trying to get to the IDF? They're trying to kill them. right? They have, I don't know how the people of Gaza still have weapons, you know? Like, everybody's saying, oh, Israel's doing genocide. They're literally begging Israel to do a genocide. And Israel refuses to do a genocide, but the Goyim want the Jews to do a genocide because the Goyim, they like genocide, right? The non-Jewish population that keeps accusing Israel of doing genocide, they're literally begging Israel to do it, but it's not our way. So even though that's something that they would love to see, the non-Jewish population who hate Jews, somehow the Jews refuse, you know? And to all the people that think, oh, there's a genocide in Gaza, if there's a genocide, how do they have fancy phones? The people of Gaza and Hamas, how do they have weapons 2 years after, right? Hi, Motorhead. Half Magi evangelicals are just Semitic hypocrites, like I said. Yeah, Vance Fuentes, Candace Owens, Tucker. They're all a bunch of creeps. They're all getting a lot of fans now against Jews in Israel. 2 Talmud applies. Pirkei Avos, chapter 2, Talmud applies. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. You know what I mean? Pirkei Avos is unique. We know that. The application of Pirkei Avos chapter 2 within the context of the Talmud is primarily as a source of ethical wisdom and guidance. Apikaris. An apikaris is somebody who knows the whole Torah and goes against it, right? The Gemara, Shabbat 31. Right, so the Gemara is a very interesting thing, right? I actually had this discussion with my nephew. He's a very smart kid, thank God, my nephew. And I asked him, like, what do you like to learn? I said, do you like to learn Nevi'im? Which is the prophets, right? And he said he doesn't like to. I asked him why. Why don't you like to learn the prophets? And he said because it's all about, like, the prophets are coming and saying that the Jews are going to die and all these, like, horrible prophecies. And then it talks about all the wars of the Jewish people between each other and between other nations and all that. And he said it's like, it's a very hard thing to read, the prophets, right? The prophecies, right? And I actually had the book, but I had it for free online, but somehow YouTube, oh, my Amber's here. I haven't really seen him since I got back. I only saw him for a second. I had to clean my whole house because my Amber. Can you see my Amber? Let me hold you. Hi, baby. Are you fat? Did you stay fat? My cat. Did you stay fat? I told him to feed you. I think you stayed fat. Yes? Look how nice you look. It's my cat. You look so nice. Right? Yes. I missed you. Do you remember me? Amber? Do you remember me? Or you forgot already? Let me look at you. Can I see you? Hi. Hi, Amber. This is a big cat. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get him basically I'm gonna get him a harness so I can take him to the vet. And then he can't run away with a leash, a harness. My sister-in-law has 2 cats, and when she takes them out, she puts a harness on them. It's very cute. Anyway, back to the thing about the Nevi'im, right? The prophets, the prophets is very, it's very sad to read the prophets, right? I didn't really learn much when I was younger about it, but we were reading the book about in the Nevi'im, by Joshua H. Heschel, and basically, with Joshua H. Heschel, he describes what's happening very well, and it's very emotional. But the internet, right? The internet took it off, right? You have to buy it now. I don't know why. I just don't want to buy it because I don't have money. If I had endless money, I'd buy all the books and I would read it. You know, just clean your eyes. Clean your eyes, my little Amber. Did you miss me? Did you miss me? Yeah? Did you miss me, Amber? I don't know if you missed me. Rabbi Joshua Heschel. Hey. Where's my cat? Right, so, yeah, I'm very happy to see my cats again. He's looking good, Baruch Hashem. So back to the thing about the Talmud, right? So my nephew likes to talk about, he likes to learn Gemara. And it's very entertaining. I was talking to my nephew about the Gemara and why he likes it so much, and it talks about this and that, and it's just hilarious. A lot of the issues that the rabbis argue over is funny. One of the things that he spoke about was how if a chicken, for example, the rabbis are discussing this in the Talmud, Oprah wanted to remove all the Jews from Selma film civil rights movement, including Rabbi Joshua Heschel. What does that mean? What does that mean? She didn't want them in the civil rights? She's an anti-Semite? Jews died in the civil rights movement for black people and equal rights. Yeah. Cats don't forget their owner even after 2 to 3 years. One had come all the way from the village to the city. Wow. So, one of the arguments that the rabbis argue over was about a chicken who, if a chicken gets his head stuck in a bin, right, and something happens to it or something happens to the bin, who has to pay for it? The chicken's owner or something like that, right? Let me go see. Gemara argument over chicken head stuck. And so we're discussing that, me and my nephew, and it was really sweet. Okay, the Gemara discusses an incident where a chicken stuck its head into the airspace of a glass vessel and crowed, causing the vessel to break. The arguments in the Gemara, specifically in Bava Kama, though related passages discuss roosters, such as one on Sefaria's Roosters topic page, focuses on the legal liability for the damage caused, not the chicken's kosher status, right? So, it doesn't argue over whether the chicken is kosher, if it, broke the vessel and something happened to it. But it talks about if the chicken crowed and made a damage to the vessel and it broke, who needs to pay, right? So, liability for damage, this is one of the laws that the Jewish people argue over. This is it's basically like court cases, right? So, if people argue over something, which everyday people do, that's why we have court cases. We have civil courts, right? Yeah, we were removed from history. 3 Jews from 5 towns killed by white neo-Nazis. Really? Saw turkeys kill each other, so they are not kosher for their minhag. Yeah, because we don't eat animals that are show cruel characteristics, because we believe you are what you eat. So, for example, here, liability for damage, nezikin. The case is cited to determine if the owner is liable for the full damage, like normal property damage, or half damage, like damage caused by an animal in a less predictable manner. Rabbi Bar Yecheskel taught in a Bereta, a Tanaic teaching, not in the Mishnah, that the owner must pay the full cost, because a rooster crowing is a predictable action. Okay, so that's the ruling on who needs to pay, right? So I think the owner of the rooster has to pay for the damage of the chicken, right? So this is something I was discussing with my nephew. He's very sweet, and we're in a car in a taxi, and he was telling me about this, and the driver was actually a man of the Sikh origin, and he kept to himself, right? But I was thinking to myself, like, which other kind of people talk about this type of thing on a daily basis? And I was laughing because it was like really funny to me that, and being in the Jewish community, you see that the Jewish person's mindset is on completely different things than a regular person, right? Like, they're discussing ideas. Jewish people walking down the street are discussing ideas. And it's very nice because that means that we are on a higher, people who discuss ideas are operating on a higher frequency, and people who discuss gossip are on a lower frequency, right? I am a New York paralegal, did legal research. Many American law is based on Talmud opinions. That's really cool. I didn't know that. Rabbi Meir Shad's wife, Bereria, was a genius in Talmud. Yeah. I know that Christians have abolished all dietary laws. Everything bloody and pork is allowed. Yeah. So they're allowed to have pork, the Christians. Like, good for them. Let them eat disgusting pork. But what, Amber? What? Did you miss me? Did you miss me? Is that what happened? Did you miss old auntie? Yeah? You missed me? Is that what happened? Yeah? I'm so glad that my neighbors fed my animals well, because Raspberry looks a little bit, she doesn't look as well, but Amber looks fine. The nature of the animal's action. Rav Yosef and the sages of Rav's study hall had a different ruling regarding other animals, horses, donkeys, braying in a house where only half the damage was to be paid. So if a donkey was making a noise and it's basically broke something from the noise, basically the owner only has to pay to the person half the damages to whoever's house was damaged, right? Right, so horses and donkeys braying in a house where only half the damage was to be paid, suggesting a difference in how predictable the animal's actions was considered in different contexts. This is distinct from discussions from an animal's kashrus, fitness for consumption, which focuses on proper shechita, ritual slaughter, and the absence of fatal defects. Treifot, right, treif. So, yeah, kosher, the argument over Jewish law, right, the discussion over Jewish law is very interesting. And also, right, so when I lived back in New York, I used to go to classes with the, he forgot who he's dealing with. He forgot that he has to be gentle. Amber, gentle. Amber, gentle. Ow, ow, I'm not a tree, Amber. I'm not a tree. He forgot who he's dealing with. You have an extremely intellectual tradition of debate and thought from a moral standpoint, yeah. Yeah, so, back to the argument about the chicken. Kapar, the Yom Kippur tradition of chicken twirling, right? Okay, so let's go back to the news and see what's happening. Ojo Tov. Knesset committee advancing bill introducing death penalty for terrorists. Very nice. That's good. Israeli former top legal officer arrested along with former chief prosecutor for obstruction of justice. See, the problem is, a lot of people say, is that the IDF has become politicized, right? So, for example, in America, the military is completely separate from the politics. They don't have the same politics. That's why they're not allowed to have an opinion. They're not allowed to say who they're voting for, right? But, okay, I think I'm getting tired. Qatari FM spokesperson promotes suicide bombings. Oh, okay. What's new there, right? So, we have seen it before with other Qatari officials, including the current defense minister, who once tweeted, "We are all Hamas," and later deleted it after I uncovered it. Right. They admit to being terrorists, right? I don't know what's with these Arabs. They're so hateful. You know, like it's insane. Like, what's their problem? Like, why are they so hateful? Do you know what I'm saying? What's their problem? IDF official probed over leaks footage of using Gazans. Let's go see that. Because that's something I didn't...
And on to this now. Another major story in Israel today, an earth-shattering affair shaking the country. The IDF Advocate General, Major General Ifat Tomer Yerushalmi, is said to be involved in the leaking and the attempt to cover up the leak of video documenting abuse of Palestinian prisoners.
Right, so this is like one of the judges, I think, and she wants full power, but the rest of Israel doesn't want her to have full power. They want to have a normal legal system. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but there's a lot of people in Israel that are power hungry.
Attorney General also in the mix here, and wait, the new Internal Security Agency chief is said to be the one who exposed them. Valerie Sladin, California senior correspondent, with a lack of a better question. Wow, please clear the clutter here.
Absolutely dramatic. That started yesterday after
The Israelis trying to think in English. They're trying to speak in English. That's so funny.
the chief of the Israeli military, has said that he is letting Yifat Yerushalmi take a vacation for now because of her involvement apparently in the leaking of that video. Now, that video that circulated online back in May 2024 has gotten headlines absolutely in Israel, but also outside Israel amidst this war where everybody that is against Israel, is opposing the Israeli war in Gaza, wanted to quote-unquote prove that the Israeli soldiers are sexually harassing the Palestinian prisoners, or in that case, a Palestinian detainee. So what we are seeing here happening is, of course, a very moral and, an issue that should be considered also in that aspect. But on the other hand, a lot of internal conflict here in Israel is above this whole dramatic case, because the war started a few months after the judicial overhaul debate in Israel.
Yeah.
And the Israeli right wing was saying that there is a deep state in Israel that wants to trouble our efforts to govern and wants to jeopardize our efforts to govern. And the left in Israel was actually, protesting and is against that. So what we are seeing here is quote unquote a proof for the Israeli right wing that here you go, you've got the chief prosecutor in the military leaking a video against our soldiers with the help, apparently, of the former chief of the Shabak, the one that was before David Zina. And we know about the story between him and Netanyahu, not firing him, and the issue with the High Court. So this goes all around this very, very huge debate in Israel that started
It's not a
long
hot
time
potato,
ago, but
it's
definitely
a flaming hot potato.
Yes, like 3 years ago that started, and it's right now materializing in front of us. And I guess everybody agrees right now that this should be investigated. We should know what is exactly going on. But it's very, very unfortunate that the opposition in Israel is not really pushing for it, and maybe for their own political reasons.
And perhaps wasn't possible to predict in advance, and yet we do know how it all unfolded with this video being used to tarnish Israel's reputation and the Israeli.
Look, I don't think that terrorists have human rights. If you're our enemy, you should be afraid for what's to come, right? Like, I don't understand, okay, on the one hand, we don't want our soldiers to act in an indecent manner to anyone, but on the other hand, why is the terrorist alive? That's the question. Why are we keeping them alive? That's the question we have to ask, right? Yeah, I don't know what this was all about. I don't understand why she did it, why she leaked the video. I don't get it, right? So here we have a Knesset committee advancing bill introducing death penalty for terrorists. The proposed law, backed by the Otzma Yehudit party, would allow military courts to impose capital punishment by majority vote for attacks motivated by hatred towards Israel. The Knesset National Security Committee, chaired by Zvika Fogel, approved on Monday the first reading of a bill proposing the death penalty for perpetrators of terrorist attacks. The measure, introduced by Otzma Yehudit Party, is scheduled to go before the Knesset for its initial plenary vote on Wednesday. Okay.
Welcome Itamar Marcus, the director of the Israeli Watch, walked out of jails as millionaires.
But look, whatever you see in the video, whatever is going on there, I don't know, you can't really see what's going on in the video, right? Whatever they're doing to that detainee. Like, those soldiers, a lot of them that work in the prisons, guarding the prisoners, and they themselves, they get abused by these prisoners, by these Arab prisoners. They're very abusive. These terrorists, they threaten the soldiers. They say that they threaten the guards. They say that they will kill their mother and rape their mother, their sister, and everybody. They are monsters. Like, these people are not normal human beings. And a lot of the times they will try to rape a guard, right? And they have done it before. If the guard doesn't have enough people with him, right, on guard duty, and women have gotten raped, and there was a scandal that came out that the Israeli government allowed women to, they put them in there on purpose, Israeli women that were guards, they would allow them to be raped by terrorists, right? And there's a lot of corruption in the IDF, it's really sad, right? But it's not supposed to be the normal thing. So on the one hand, we don't want our soldiers to act in a bad way, because it's not only geared to the terrorists. It's one thing if it's just the terrorists. It can spread towards people, their coworkers that they're working with, that they don't receive respect. You know what I'm saying? That they deserve as their colleagues, as their coworkers, right? And right, but on the other hand, like, I don't know, but I understand from reading articles and from doing the research on the people who guard these prisoners of October 7 that did the October 7 massacre, right? I see how the terrorists behave towards the guards. These terrorists, they're not sweet, so if they get raped or if they get tortured, I don't understand why people feel so much for them. Like, these people are not people. They're below humanity, right? Beria was the only woman in Talmud, a genius. Interesting. Exactly, they don't have respect for women and children. Shulchan Aruch halachic law books are what Orthodox Jews do. Yes, but within that, there is arguments and there's loopholes and there is, depending on the situation, it's not cut in stone, right? And that's why a lot of the time, if you have a question, you have a shaila on the kashrus, right? For instance, you think you did something wrong in the kitchen and you're not sure if the pot is treif. So the rabbi will ask you, okay, what happened? So, you have the pot. You had a dairy pot in the sink. You spilled by accident a chicken fell into the pot. Was the chicken hot or cold? The rabbi will ask. And depending on your answer, the rabbi will say, okay, the pot is treif or it's not treif, right? The pot is permissible and kosher or it's not kosher. Then you have to throw out the pot or go in kosher in some way, right? Even the richest Arabs invite Mal to Dubai and Doha. Yeah, it's very, very depressing because in Dubai, right, there's modern day slavery going on there. And they've been exposed, right? The Arabs are the chief in slavery, sex trafficking and slavery, human slavery. People who went to Dubai, as we speak, right? They're to visit or to work, to find work. Their passports get taken away and they get put in slave laborers camps, and they are the ones who are building the skyscrapers in Abu Dhabi, in Dubai, in Saudi Arabia, right? And nobody talks about that. These are human rights violations, but they all focus on Israel. But the real slavery and the sex slavery, children being kidnapped, sex trafficking, is all in these countries, right? George Habash is terrifying. That's why, like my father said, when my uncle was alive, he heard that the Bakharim, the young students, the Jewish young men who were students, they were stopping. They had a stopover in Turkey. He was freaking out because these Arab countries, they don't have respect for human rights. They don't understand. You can't take people as slaves, and you can't just kidnap people and take them as slaves. But the Arabs, they don't seem to understand that that's wrong. You know what I mean? George Habash, Christian Palestinian pillow with Arafat, Egyptian Muslim, started pillow terrorist group. Yeah. Christianity also was like Hamas, Palestinians for centuries. In Europe, exactly. Going to pizza. Bye. Bye. Have fun. Enjoy your pizza. So, right? Trump tells CBS, we know where the remaining hostages are. Really. Whatever, the whole thing is a sham. Okay. Let's go and see what else there is. I'm very tired, I should go. I am a Gaza Holocaust survivor, the new trend on social media. Can you imagine the chutzpah, disrespect to say such a thing? I am a Gaza Holocaust survivor. Really? You look well fed, bitch. You have big plump fat lips. Your clothes are clean. You have a nice working camera. You have your nails done, your Gucci bag, and you're dancing in Gaza with music and full face makeup. So stop claiming to be something you're not, bitch. Even if you want attention and you think that somehow you are important, sorry, but you're no Holocaust survivor. You're a loser looking for attention, right? Since the U.S. brokered ceasefire, there has been an explosion of the use of the term Holocaust survivors by social media users from Gaza and anti-Israel influencers and activists. This is what we call inversion and perversion, right? So, for instance, if I show you Holocaust show off, right? If I show you some images of the dead bodies, for instance, view image, this is what happened in the Holocaust. Dead bodies, right? The dead bodies that were murdered, people murdered in the Holocaust, the skeletal remains, you know. You want to know what a Holocaust looks like? This is the Holocaust. In the summer of 1944, Soviet forces were the first Allied troops to enter a Nazi death camp at Majdanek in Poland. This photo of the ovens in Majdanek's crematorium and the skeletal remains of victims was distributed by the Soviet photo agency to AP and others. Right. So, you know, the Holocaust is the Holocaust. And for those people to try to hijack what the Holocaust was, they're evil. And maybe they deserve to be Holocausted. They're begging for it. Do you know what I mean? These are the survivors. The aftermath of the Holocaust. They were in displaced persons camps and they survived. But if you want to know what the real Holocaust looks like, this is what it looks like. Survivors, this is what survivors look like. Now that bitch, that pig here, you see this big fat pig? She is well fed. You know what I mean? She's well fed. Big fat pig face, you know? Well fed, happy, with fancy clothes and a fancy phone, and doing her own thing with her family. This is Holocaust victims. This is what Holocaust victims look like. You want to be a Holocaust victim? You know, the world is begging for the Jews to actually do this to them. But we're not you. We're not like you. We don't do what you do. That's not our way, you freaks. Get a life, man. Here's the survivors. Perverts. It's like really sad, you know, like I can see my family in this. I can put myself in their shoes. Those people that live through the horror, you know. Like, look at that old lady. She's somebody's grandma. Look at this mother. She's somebody's sister. Look at these children arriving at the death camps in the cattle cars. They didn't even have the dignity to put them in they didn't give the Jews the dignity to put them in a normal train. They put them in cattle cars, animal cars, to herd them all into these places to get killed, to starve them and forced labor, and then crematorium. All these children, a lot of them coming from the ghetto where they were starved. And but somehow she's the victim, this bitch, this cunt, you know? You're not a Holocaust survivor, and you never will be, unless your own family murders you for honor, okay? Which is something that your own family members do to you, so go fuck yourself. Anyway, makes me angry. Okay, let's see what else there is. Egypt to host international summit to finalize Trump's Gaza plan. Oh God, I don't know what to think, my friends. More Palestinians support October 7 massacre now than 5 months ago. Recent poll finds, of course. Anyway, let's go see. U.S. charges 2 men in Michigan over alleged ISIS-inspired plot. Okay, what's new in the Mideast, right? Jerusalem heat reaches November record. Center weather station reports. Yeah, so it's very interesting because I was in the plane and they said that yeah, hi, the guy from America. Hi, Amber. What? Did you miss me? Or you didn't really miss me? What? So, basically, where are we? Yeah, so in the airplane they said the weather is like 37 Celsius. They said it was like, it was warm, right? So I'm like, wow, in Tel Aviv it's warm. So then I went and it was actually warm. And then I went to Jerusalem and it's not cold at all. It's pretty warm. And for this time of year, it's usually much cooler and the wind is blowing and it's raining. And I mean, not fully raining, but it's a little bit cooler, right? And usually in the night, especially in Jerusalem, it's like desert weather, so the temperature will plunge. Even if it's warm in the day, it will plunge to cold in the evening, but it didn't, right? So that's very strange for this time of the year, right? Chechnya Mufti, Jews are the enemies of Islam, spreading atheism and Satanism. They're so obsessed with us. They're obsessed with the Jews. You know, I feel so lucky to be Jewish. I feel so honored that I'm part of this nation that is so special. So the fact that we're the center, and we've always been, and we always will be. And guess what? My father seems to think that, you know, Esav, right? The people who, what was the average temperature this time of year? It's cooler, right? I visited the website many days. Last week, long to Ukraine when I understood that was between the 2 years like that. What? So basically, my father says that, I said, yeah, England's going down, you know. We're having this discussion. Yeah, England's going down because the Arabs are taking over, and the Europeans, they kind of deserve it because they're anti-Semitic. They're being punished now. But my father seems to say that, you know, Europe is Esav, which is Jacob's brother, right? And Jacob hates Yaakov. And Esav has a very vicious nature. And the Europeans are the ones who did the Holocaust. So my father seems to think that the Arabs were going to push because the Arabs are Ishmael. They're going to push Esav. And Esav, the beast within Esav, is going to wake up, and there's going to be a real showdown. And the Europeans are going to chase the Arabs out of Europe. But they will not, the time, even if like because my opinion is that the British people and all the Europeans, they're going down because measure for measure, because of their crimes, right, against Jews. So, but my father seems to say that, you know, the Jewish people, we are going up, right? The Jewish community, the Jewish nation, we are going up from here. It's the time of the Messiah, of the redemption, and the Christians, soon they're going to want to be Jewish. A lot of them are already wanting to convert. So many non-Jews are trying to get into conversion programs to become Jewish. But there's going to be a cutoff time, when nobody can become Jewish ever anymore. And the Jewish nation is going up from here. We are going up, 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 up. And we're going to continue rising until the end of days comes, right? And the rest of the world is going to want to, basically, the rest of the world is going to want to be one of us. They're going to want to serve us. They're going to beg. What is that? The rest of the world is going to beg to do something for the Jews, right? Because they're going to recognize that we are the greatest, and it says in the Talmud that the world is going to hold on to the tzitzis of the Jew and say, "What can I do for you? Anything. Tell me what I can do for you," right? Because they're going to recognize the greatness of the chosen Jewish nation, right? It's our time to shine, and we're going to go up from here. Even with all our suffering, with all the Jewish suffering, with all of the, yes, okay, Jewish people are not perfect. Like, for example, on the plane, there were these, like, really religious women, Jewish women on the plane, and one girl, she was such an asshole. She's wearing, like, a tichel, like a head covering, and there's a baby crying on the other side of the plane, and she starts getting annoyed, she starts making a sound. She gets up when she's supposed to be sitting, right? She gets up and she says, "Shh, shh." She goes to the mother, "Shh, shh." And I was like, "Excuse me? Like, who do you think you are?" She looked like she was like 18, 19, and she was married, and she doesn't have any children of her own. She doesn't know how difficult it is to travel with a child on a plane. No respect and no sensitivity to actually go and try out of her way to try and shame a mother because the baby's crying. Like, what do these people expect mothers on the plane to do when their babies cry? How do they expect the mother to shut the baby up? What, do they want the mother to kill the baby? Like, what is the thought process? Like, I don't understand, right? Like, these people, they don't seem to understand that babies cry, and you can't shut them up unless you put a sussy in the mouth. The baby's not feeling well on the plane, right? Maybe there's something, she has gas, right? Maybe the baby is not feeling good because of the pressure. The baby's ears are popping. Maybe the baby is drinking, needs, is in pain. Maybe the baby's hungry. Maybe the baby has a rash. We don't know. Baby, flying is not easy with children. Maybe the baby can't sit still for 12 hours straight. But people don't seem to have any compassion for children or for their mothers. And I'm telling you, if that girl would have acted up more, I would have yelled at her. Because I would have been like, "What are you doing?" Like, one day she's young, she's married, she might give, like, that's what I'm saying, like, there's some people, Jewish people can be assholes too, but not to the extent of the non-Jew who, Jewish people can just be obnoxious, right, and insufferable. Argumentative, stiff-necked, but Jewish people can complain, but not to the extent where, the non-Jewish people, they go around killing each other. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so that was something that was disturbing to me. And you always have the people in the ghetto, ghetto culture who they hang around with their friends and they're like yentes. They go and they sit around and they will chatter and gossip about their friends and about the neighbors, and like that's all they want to talk about. Like, there's a lot of people like that, and it doesn't matter. Like, especially in the Jewish community. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know, like, there's some people that enjoy gossip, you know? Like, I don't... What am I doing now? I'm gossiping, right? But there's just certain things that disturb me on the plane. Right? It's very interesting. Right, Amber? People don't appreciate the value of being a mother or having children. Yeah, but that young girl, she herself, she looks like she doesn't have kids yet. She's just married. She's young. But somehow she gets annoyed at other people that can't quiet their children on the plane, you know? And everyone's getting annoyed at the mother, screaming at the child to shut up. Like, you shut up. You've never been a child before. You don't. Okay, maybe you don't remember what it's like to be a child, but like, people have no compassion or understanding or sensitivity to what another person might be going through. You know what I mean? And it's just very sad, in my opinion. I have to go now because I need to go to sleep. I'm so tired. But I thought to come on here because basically I thought to come on the computer because it feels good to sit in my own house and to have my own space and to be back in my own little, do my own little thing with philosophy and news and reading and all that. I just need it's going to take me a couple of days to recover. And it's going to take me a couple of days to recover and to get into a routine and all that. Right? Anyway, yeah, I have to go. It's been real. Thank you, Wattis. Thank you very much. Anyway, very tired. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm the best person in the world. It's common sense, you know what I mean? It's just like, what's wrong with people? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I have to go. Yeah. Feel free to subscribe or to unsubscribe. Feel free to like, not to like. Feel free to comment and have a great day. Okay? Bye. Peace there, guy from America.